Welcome back, friends. This is Yvonne Davis, your traveling warrior astrologer, and I am bringing this to you from under the stars. Today, I am doing a video about the Venus retrograde, and I'm calling this a heroic journey into the underworld. I also want to mention I'm still doing my anti-inflation special, which is an hour-long astrology reading for $99. Any of these things, you can always find a link in the description box below. So if you want to go to Patreon or you want to get a reading, please do that. So the first thing I want to say is that you can see everything is pointing to the Venus in this Venus retrograde. She is located between 28 degrees and 29 degrees of Leo. And it's super interesting because that is where we find the fixed star Regulus. And what's interesting about that fixed star is that, well, Regulus basically means the ruler, the king. Often when you see people who have natal charts with a planet at that degree, you will find people who are very wealthy and powerful. And of course, it also depends on which planet is there and how it's aspected. So normally any planet that, especially if it's a benefic planet, but sometimes even if it's one of the other planets, it will still bring those same kinds of benefits of power and wealth at this degree. So it's a very important degree. And this whole entire Venus retrograde chart is all pointing to the idea of wealth and power. And it's also important to understand that at this level of consciousness that we're dealing with here, when I use the word wealth, sometimes I am talking about material wealth, but sometimes I'm talking about wealth in the sense of another form of power. So, for example, a sense of abundance, having a channel open to abundance. So, a wealthy person isn't necessarily, like a billionaire or whatever. It can be someone who just is really able to access wealth very easily. So they may not be what we typically think of as like rich, like lifestyles of the rich and famous or anything like that. But they just have this really open channel to abundance. They're always able to access what they need pretty much easily and effortlessly. They're kind of lucky, things work out for them. So it is important to understand that at this level of consciousness, that's what I mean when I say that they are wealthy, okay? So, and powerful is really also about an inner locus of control. That means you have power within yourself. That doesn't mean that when I say, like a powerful person, that this is someone who has power over other people. Now, they may have material wealth, they may have wealth over other people, but mostly I am talking about power within oneself. And so that would be called self-empowerment. And wealth meaning open channel to abundance, ease in terms of accessing resources, any kind of resources. I don't care what they are. That may be relational, that may be energetic, that may be material resources, that may be access to people, skills. So I mean resources of any kind, okay? All right, so I just wanted to be clear. That's partly what this chart is talking about because of the fact that Venus is a planet of wealth and she is stationing retrograde right over the fixed star Regulus. And that degree where that fixed star is all about wealth and power, okay? Now, the other planet that's pointing to this idea of wealth and power is Pluto. And that's also why I am calling this a heroic journey into the underworld, because Pluto is the god of the underworld. So this chart is very archetypal. So there's a story here, okay, about the hero's journey to the underworld. And so we need to think about it in an archetypal way. We need to activate our archetypal consciousness in order to understand the meaning in this chart and get the most out of it, okay? So, first thing you see is everything is pointing to that Venus, where she is retrograding right on top of fixed star Regulus in conjunction with Lilith. Okay, so this isn't just any old kind of heroic journey to the underworld. This is very specifically about female empowerment. Now, any men who are watching this video, I want you to understand you have a female energy inside of you as well. It's called your anima. And so, it's like the yin yang. We all have the anima and the animus. And so that means the masculine self and the feminine self that guides us, okay? So, if you identify as male, then you probably identify more with the masculine energy. But if you identify as female, you would identify more with the feminine kind of energy. But we all have both. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So this is a journey, a very feminine kind of journey into the underworld. And the reason why I say that is because of the fact that it's Venus and Lilith. Lilith is really a warrior goddess. When you understand the full story of Lilith, you know she is all about female empowerment and female equality, and she is very much a warrior goddess. Now, Venus is kind of has two sides. One side is that she is the lover. She's all about beauty, feminine wiles, the attraction that that feminine energy has, the ability to attract what she wants with that feminine, receptive, attractive energy. So she's more soft and loving and gentle in that feminine way. But she has another side that is more like Lilith, a more warrior goddess side when she is retrograde. Okay, and I mentioned that before in another video about the fact that Venus, the word Venus, it has the same root word as vino and venom. So that is the shadow side of Venus, okay? And so she can be a lot like Lilith and that warrior goddess, okay? And that's what we're seeing here when she goes retrograde. And she is just like arm in arm with Lilith. And these two are out to find out what their power is. But they have to take that journey into the underworld, and they have to meet with the god of the underworld, which is Pluto, okay? And Pluto is playing a very important role in this chart because Pluto is at 29 degrees of Capricorn, opposite the sun at 29 degrees of Cancer, square to the nodes. The south node is at 29 degrees of Libra, which is ruled by Venus, and the north node is at 29 degrees of Aries. So that's a grand cross. It's actually a cardinal grand cross because all four of these are at 29 degrees of cardinal signs, okay? So it's a grand cross in the cardinal signs. Cardinal means action, that you take action. You're willing to be a leader. So that is also speaking to that idea of the warrior or the hero's journey, okay? But this is a specific kind of hero's journey. It's the one in which the hero goes into the underworld and meets with the god of the underworld. And that is a unique journey because it's really about going into your shadow, going into your subconscious, okay? When you go into the underworld and you meet with the god of the underworld, there's a kind of initiation that happens. There's an alchemy that happens. And that alchemy, that initiation, what it does is it helps you to heal your wounds and turn them into power. So in alchemical language, what we say is that your lead will be turned into gold. So the lead is the energy of the woundedness, okay, that drains you, that weighs you down, that blocks you. Whereas the gold is the golden light of empowerment. So when you heal your wounds, you are able to transmute that lead into the golden light of empowerment. That's why doing this hero's journey is so important, because if you do it consciously, and you go down into the underworld, be willing to do it, be willing to go into your subconscious and look at your shadow and really meet with your shadow, really meet with that god of the underworld and do that initiation and do that alchemical process, you will come out so much more empowered. You cannot even believe it. But that doesn't mean it's easy. Sometimes it can be very painful. It just depends on each individual and how willing you are to do the work and how much work you've done in the past and what kind of work you're going to be doing this time in this initiation, because it can show up in all different kinds of ways. It's not the same for everyone. So I can't tell you exactly what yours will look like unless I'm looking at your natal chart. Okay, so obviously if you want a reading, you can always look at the link below and click on it, and I'll take you to my website where you can order a reading. I'm still doing my $99 anti-inflation special. So if you want to find out how this is impacting you personally, just go ahead and click on that link and order a reading. But other than that, this is just the general, overall understanding of how this energy works, okay? So it's pointing to that Venus, and she's in conjunction with Lilith. So we got, Venus retrograde is also the warrior goddess. So we got these two warrior goddesses hand in hand going into the underworld to do this initiatory work. Very, very powerful. Now, there are like maybe 4 other planets involved here in somewhat difficult positions because of the fact that they are in oppositions. So one is the Mars opposite the Saturn, which can be really frustrating because Mars is the warrior and wants to take action, but Saturn is putting on the brakes. So we have to learn patience. This chart has a lot of signatures indicating a necessity for patience. Okay, so try to remember to let yourself slow down. It doesn't mean you stop taking action, but you slow down and you think it through more strategically. Okay, so you're not just banging your head against a brick wall, but you're slowing down. You're thinking strategically about the best kinds of action and the best ways to take action before you actually take that action. Okay, because if you think about it, really the most powerful warriors are those who do martial arts. And in martial arts, it's not just the attack. In fact, most of martial arts is the receptive, the responding. And so when someone comes at you, you actually use that energy. It becomes part of your power. So if you think about Mars in terms of the martial artist, that is the way to use this energy. Okay? That's the perfect way to use this energy. To slow down, to go with the flow, see where the energy is flowing, and then move with that energy, okay? So that you actually end up taking the path of least resistance, and yet you get the most done that you possibly can. That's the irony here. Now, the other 2 planets that are in opposition are the moon opposite Neptune. And Neptune is also part of the boomerang yod that is pointing to Venus. And so one of the things we need to understand about this chart is that Neptune opposite the moon has something to do with information that is hidden, information that is secret. That's partly, what I was saying about going into the shadow, going into your subconscious. But Neptunian energy is a little bit different than just going into the subconscious. It's also about understanding where we live in fantasy, where we get too attached to our ideals and we are not able to see things more realistically. When I say realistic, I don't mean follow your fears. Sometimes when people say be realistic, they're basically saying follow your fears, listen to your fears, be realistic. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that sometimes we have a dream, we have a vision, we have a goal, we have an ideal that we're attached to, and we may not see the full truth about what it will actually take to get there. Okay. And that's part of the Saturn in this chart, is that Saturn is trying to get us grounded in reality so that we can actually manifest our goals in the long run if we can see them clearly. But there is some hidden information here. There's something that is occulted, and that means it's hidden, it's in the dark, it's in the shadows. And sometimes that is intentional, like somebody might be withholding information from you, keeping a secret from you, possibly even intentionally deceiving you. Or sometimes, if that's their modus operandi, they don't realize that they do that as a form of manipulation. But if that is their modus operandi, then they may be, withholding information or deceiving, just because it's the way that they have learned how to survive in the world, not because they intentionally think I'm going to lie to you. But sometimes maybe they do think that intentionally. That is actually a possibility with this chart, with Neptune opposite the moon. But I think I want to take the most positive view of this chart as I can, because there is something in this chart that is really, really pushing us to look deeply, to take that journey into the underworld, to meet with our shadow and meet with the god of the underworld and do that initiatory work and do the alchemical work so that we can empower ourselves as warriors. And when you come out of that, you are healed. Your lead has been transmuted into the golden light of empowerment, and it's worth it. The journey is worth it, no matter how hard it may feel as you're going through it. I'm just saying to keep in mind that there is information here that is hidden, that is secret, that is occulted, that is in the shadows, okay? Either intentionally or unintentionally. And sometimes we intentionally or unintentionally keep ourselves deceived. So I think that you always have to kind of, as you're going through this Venus retrograde, you always kind of have to keep that in mind, that the truth may not be what you think it is. And just keep that option open just in case. And kind of skirt the gap between the known and the unknown. And understand that you may not know which realm you're in at any given moment. But if you can just, stay on your toes like a warrior, especially a martial artist, you really can come out of this incredibly empowered. And so this is actually, I think, a very exciting Venus retrograde, even though it may be challenging. I'm not saying it's not going to be challenging. I'm just saying that once we get through it, I think we will feel so much more empowered, and it will open up our channel to abundance, okay? Because we will have done that healing work of the initiation. Because the initiate always comes out of the underworld more empowered. That's where you go to get the buried treasure. So when you come out, you take that treasure with you, which is the golden light of empowerment and an open channel to abundance and wealth. Okay, the other thing I like about this is the Jupiter trine to Mars and sextile to Saturn. And I will mention though that the Jupiter sextile to Saturn, that orb is widening, but later when Jupiter goes retrograde and Saturn goes direct, they may come back into a closer sextile. So just keep that in mind, that this is a long-term process. This is not overnight, because the Venus retrograde itself is 6 weeks. And then after that, she's in her 6-week integration period. So that's like 12 weeks. That's like 4 months. So that's a long period of time. So I would say pretty much all the way to the end of the year, because the eclipses will also bring about important change. So this is a long-term process. But hopefully you've got an idea about the dates. It starts on July 22nd. It lasts for 6 weeks until September 4th. And then we go into the 6-week integration period where she's moving direct. But that period is so much easier. It is really, compared to the retrograde, it's nothing. It's a cakewalk. Okay, so I think that's pretty much covers it all. And so I'm going to leave it there. And of course, if you have any comments or questions, just put them in the comment section below, and check out my $99 reading special in the description box below, or become a patron for $5 a month, where we have live Zoom meetings and live Q&As, and you get to meet with my astrological community, and it's super fun. So I hope you'll join us. It's only $5 a month. All right, that's it for today, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye. Also want to mention I'm still doing my anti-inflation special, which is an hour-long astrology reading for $99. Any of these things you can always find a link in the description box below. So if you want to go to Patreon or you want to get a reading, please do that. All right, that's it for now, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.